Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. Bit of a change from the normal webinar at Third Light. So, for a change, we were actually going to be in person today, as this is a webinar, as you can see, focused on software rollout challenges. So, I'm Guy. I'm the training manager at Third Light, and I'm joined by my colleague.
Hello, hi. My name is Marco. You heard my voice before. Some of you have actually met, but this is me.
So today's a little bit different. Normally you don't get to see our angelic faces because we're hiding behind chorus and demonstrating procedures and things in chorus. So, nice to actually see you all. Welcome to another chorus webinar. So we'll be talking about a few different things around software rollout challenges, things to consider, points of view that we would, strongly recommend you take on board. So, really it's the pretty simple agenda as ever. Welcome from us. It's still a very strange time in the world. We hope you're all staying safe and well, and same for your organisations and your families and stuff. It's as we say, it's a strange time. So
yeah,
we've got a number of different things to talk about. So today is just really a sort of back and forth with me and Marco, and it's a mixture of experience we've gained as an organisation, as individuals, both before Third Light and since we joined. And we hope you'll find it useful. This isn't about us. This is a general webinar. This is about a software rollout. This is not specific to our software. Just to be really, really clear.
we wanted to do something slightly different, I guess, this time, and try to use our expertise and knowledge. And we obviously put a lot of thought into how to help our customers rolling out chorus and make it a success for their organization, guys doing success. And we figured we wanted to do something that wasn't necessarily specific to chorus, that takes all those lessons that we've learned and apply and allows you to sort of because you're going to roll out other software, to people that maybe seeing this video, the recording of the webinar, that maybe don't even have chorus. They just could use the advice. So we wanted to do that. Sorry, Guy, I kind of felt like saying something there.
No. Sorry, I just remembered I needed to open a door so my router isn't blocked. So in terms of what we'll be discussing today, before we get into the actual conversation, just a bit of a visualization, really, that for a software rollout is it's a big undertaking if in our opinion you're going to do it properly and effectively and successfully. So it's not maybe a little bit over the top to compare it to climbing Everest, but in effect what we're talking about is going from the bottom to the top. And we're going to talk about a number of different things, and really we'll begin by talking about really a really fundamental point. Marco,
do you actually? Yeah, that's a fun way to start a question. Well, how do you roll out software? It's like, hold on, let's go back a step. Did you pick the right one? And I think this is an overlooked part of the process sometimes. It's because oftentimes when people purchase software for their organization, we're talking about mid to big size orgs here, right? Not a small group maybe getting the software they specifically need. On bigger organization, it often happens that the users are not involved in a conversation about what we're going to be using, and are basically only considered as part of the process when it comes to getting them to use the software, which is a few steps down the line.
Yeah.
So the question is, have you picked the right software? Yeah, is a way to put focus on the user when you're buying the software. Yeah, sorry guys, tell me.
No, it's not a problem at all. I think what we were discussing prior to this session is it should be resolving pain points. It's not about creating them. And I think Marco's raised a great point that I've been involved in good and I'd say bad rollouts at another company, and one of the key parts is if you're not consulting end users, understanding their day-to-day use cases, and actually purchasing a solution that will enable you to solve those things.
That's the main thing. You want to, so before you even obviously bought this or buy the software, you should go to the people that are going to be using it, understand what they need, which seems obvious but doesn't often happens. Often there's maybe an IT department or someone in procurement that has some abstract idea of what it's needed, and maybe they go to sort of like the broad range of software out there and maybe pick based on criteria that make sense to them. Security, important, but obviously there's things to think about there. Costs, there's also the things that are important in a way, but they shouldn't overshadow the main thing, which is this group of people needs a tool, a piece of software to solve this problem because they have this pain point. And if you don't fix that, if that's not the first thing you consider, then you're not gonna get the right software. If you don't have the right software, there's not so much you can do to have a successful rollout. It's just not probably going to be working. And obviously, you want to literally ask them.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to user journeys. It's something we're going to reference a lot throughout this. I mean, what do you need this software for?
Absolutely.
What features must you have? Do you need? What parts of the role do you need to make easier? Will you map that journey out? I think because let's be really blunt, for a lot of people, when you're coming to implement a new system, it's another thing they have to learn on top of their day-to-day role and day-to-day responsibilities. So, we'll be having a follow-up webinar in a few weeks around, helping with change management, because it's, it can be something that is a little bit of an obstacle to begin with. And I think, something I wanted to raise was that key point around all of this is, really good communication across all of your stakeholders, strong project management, ensuring people are clear and understand each step and, what you want from them and what you need from them, etc. And giving them that opportunity to share feedback and so on.
Absolutely. There's another reason why you want to do that, not only because you're going to get the right software, it's going to be easier because people will know exactly what we need, but also because if you ask the people that are going to be using it into the process, you getting a buy-in from them. It will be imposed by someone else. They will be part of the decision process, which will make them much interested in actually getting to use that software. They'll be excited. They will want to use that software. They will wait for the date when you're going to be able to finally use it because they know it's coming. So all of that builds that
hopefully
excitement. Hopefully.
So
in theory, new software should be exciting, right? Because it's going to solve the problem.
Marco, I think, I'm not sure if it's you or me, but I think one of us has got a bit of an internet connection issue. Because you've just dropped out on me, so just something to FYI and be aware of.
That's such a shame, because on my side, obviously, it looked the other way, but I don't know which one
finding
is actually
in that case. Actually, moving on from talking about have you picked the right solution, did you find the right software, and actually, beginning to think around different points that will help you to have a successful rollout. And Marco, I think this is something you're very very passionate about. So what would you when we talk about finding a champion, I'll hand it over to you.
So you find the right now expecting, right? There's people that software rollout is still a people problem. It's not a technical problem, right? The technical bits are normally easy. Installing it, making it work, generally easy stuff. Or at least it's in the hands of people that know what to do. Get rid of if you don't have it yet. We dropped Guy, I think. But he's going to be back.
I've just turned my webcam off. My computer is very, very unhappy. So sorry about this.
Okay. That's all right. It will look like I'm talking to myself, which or like with an embodied voice. I have Guy somewhere here in the apartment. Can't right out frame. Are you there though, Guy? Can you?
Yes,
I'm
here. Sorry, I've just turned the turn the webcam off just to
Yeah, if I had like a stuffed animal, I would bring you here so we could pretend that the stuffed animal is here.
So
We don't have
going
that.
back onto
Yeah,
finding
sorry,
champion.
let's go back. Yeah.
So
Let's go back to that. Yeah.
So yes,
Should I?
Marco, it's the subject you're passionate about. So
Yeah. Right. So I was saying like it's a people problem, right? So what you want to do is to find someone, or more than someone if you can, and find an advocate for that for that software within the user base. You want someone that will be driving it, that is going to be someone that excited themselves. It doesn't have to be necessarily a manager or someone higher up. You find people that will be looking after the software. And I don't mean necessarily administrating the software. That's obviously you want to have someone who takes care of some of the more admin bits, but you want to make sure that there's people in there in the user base that are going to remind other people to use it, that is going to maybe write little guides. We'll talk a little bit more about collaterals later. That is going to go out of that way to speak to other people, to help other people on the ground. And if you can do anything to really promote this behavior, it will do wonders. And especially if that person or could be more than one, and I should be more than one, if they will actually be attached with a vendor or needed. Most vendors, obviously, not just us, will give you ongoing support after your purchase. So someone that will be raising support tickets, talking with account managers, actively thinking about how can this software be used better, and actively working on that. Those are all important things that often again are overlooked, especially if you don't appoint someone, if you don't give someone the time and resources they potentially need to do this. So get someone that will be looking after this thing, and don't make it though so that they're gatekeepers. They shouldn't be gatekeepers. They should be proactively helping other people, but not sort of like keeping everything for themselves.
Yeah, and I think this is where coming back to the project management and communication side of thing, I think that's an absolutely fundamentally key part of being a successful champion, and things like something that can sometimes be said in training is like, oh, just go and have a play with that, and that's not really particularly useful to someone that's encountering software for the first time, or if you're giving them clear guidelines around what you'd like them to try, what you're looking for, how they can provide that feedback, and then that also gives you the opportunity to speak to the people that have sold you that software, i.e. us, if it were Third Light, or whoever it might be, and something else I think to bear in mind, as Marco's reflects on,
I'm sure you get that
having departments. If you've got multiple departments, multiple teams, and multiple locations, you might need more than one person. So I think moving on, Marco, to then talking about when you actually get to the we're sort of getting to the part of the rollout, but how key is mapping your user's journey.
Yeah, so basically you got the right software because you've involved people, right? You made sure that you know what this is about, what this is for, and you get the input. And then you find people that will be willing to go the extra mile and really think about this software, use it more, push other people. But then there's also some more technical aspects of rolling out, maybe what most people were thinking about when they joined this webinar. So what he's going to tell us, like, how do you plan a rollout? Well, we got to that part. We got to the part where we're going to actually be talking about the planning of the rollout. It's important, but as you can imagine, as you could have seen, like, it's within a context of a framework of, let's talk about people's emotions and how they react to software, what they need, etc. So it all goes with that. Going back again then to that planning stage, again, you have to think about people's experience and people's emotions to an extent, right? So when I say map user journey, what I mean is literally write down on a piece of paper or a whiteboard all the steps that people will go through when they get this software, right? Give you an example. And I'll tell you later why you have to do it, but what you want to do is you want to write down, for example, say, Guy, we're going to give him this new software. He's going to use it to, say, prepare his e-learning module, right? We're going to switch from one to the other. You need something new because blah, blah, blah. So what's going to happen then? Well, first step in the journey, we're going to tell him. Second step in the journey is he's probably going to need to install it, right? Making sure that it's accessible to wherever he works, from home to the office, etc.
Rather than maybe walking through step by step each potential, I mean, it's such a variable in terms of the people we deal with, but I think, you know, things we talked about, Marco, you know, making sure things are announced, making sure there's training, you know, making sure that start dates and end dates are clear around when old software will be replaced, when new software will start to be used. And I think, you know, that thing you're really big on is the pain points, right?
Yeah, but that's where I'm getting at, Guy. I'll get there. Like, there's a point in what I was saying. So just giving you an example. Let me go back to that because I think it elucidates the point that I was trying to make. Is that so? Like, you have those steps, right? Concrete steps, and this is the sort of stuff you want to make sure you have right down. This is a example, as Guy said. It's not always going to be the same, but you want to make sure you keep everything in mind, right? So again, you tell him he has to access the software, start using it. So there's going to be a learning curve. Is going to start building his first course, and then there's going to be more and more and more. So have an idea of what steps they'll go through. And once you have those steps, that's where, as Guy just mentioned, as you just mentioned, Guy, that's where it's going to be clear that where the pain points will be. Because even with new software, there's going to be moments where it's going to be a bit tricky. So for example, you could look at the step where he needs to install it, right, and make it available from home, maybe through a VPN or whatever. And then you must start thinking, okay, what could go wrong there, right? What if that doesn't work? What if there's an issue there? Or at a later step, like he has to build his first training. What if it gets frustrated and he can't do a thing that he normally does all the time? That's how you start mapping out not just the journey, but also the potential pain points he would go through, all the issues that could happen. And that's where you want to make sure that he has resources and help. And it can be very, very specific. So that's what I'm going to say. This is the more technical bits and pieces. Make sure you plan for any eventuality or as many as you can, and to plan for things that could go wrong, not just in the terms of knowing they'll be there, but also it's like what I'm going to give my users, right? And that's where you're going to start thinking about, okay, a lot of people will probably fail at this stage, and they may just revert to something else. Okay, I'm going to need to build a guide there, a FAQ or something like that. That's where you're going to be able to control the situation and be prepared, which is very, very important. Because the moment you switch from a software to another, or from no software to a software, that's where things are very, very fragile, right? A new user that is failing to do something they can do all the time on an old piece of software, when they get a new one, more often than not, when they find a moment of frustration, they may just revert back to what they know and refuse to learn the new way or kind of adopt a new way. So they need help, and you need to provide them that help. So which is why that all ties in with the user journey and sort of like knowing what journey people go through, so that you can also imagine and prepare for what pitfalls there may be on that journey.
Marco, just conscious of time, so moving on to the next tip, if we can, please. So, you know, around off the back of, you know, the rollout, right, making sure you've mapped that user journey, making sure people have got the resources and all of the help that they need through that rollout. Then, you know, you get to other things. I mean, this is just a tip, but around, you know, it's all very well and good to give documents from the software vendor. You know, obviously, as an example, we have documentation, training materials, etc. But actually, you know, that it's just a third-party piece of software to a lot of your users and staff that way. So, you know, personalizing things around the support and the rollout to make it more engaging and actually encourage them, you know, your people to use this software, because I think you know, that can really, really help driving adoption. And you know, I mean, we've written quick start guides for Chorus that, you know, cover those essential basics, that give you those sort of quick points. And but there's there's lots of other things you can think of and give them to help, from, you know, overviews and FAQ, mapping out the software, of course, videos and things as well, showing processes and things. And I think, you know, as Marco, who helps So many of our customers with migrations and queries on Chorus, I think it's something that Marco's got a lot of experience of, and certainly, I help with training in terms of in the initial phase. But I think what we're referencing here is that as you come to that rollout internally, once you've got, you've mapped out that journey, you've got your champion, you know where those pain points are. I think it's a really effective way to help drive engagement. Is anything? Sorry, Mark, I've waffled on there. Anything you'd like to add?
It's very, very true what you said. There's kind of two aspects of this. Personalizing is some branding and make it obviously relevant to them, to use less technical and more maybe tailored for your user base. There's also we can write all sorts of guides. We have will do the same. Most vendors will do the same, right? You have more technical guides, more user-friendly guides, more tailored guides. But at the end of the day, there's a level of specificity we can never reach. What I mean by that, I can teach you how to upload files in Chorus, right? But I'm not going to be able to teach your user how to follow a process that makes sense within your organization. Like, how do you build a new brochure? You go into this folder, get a picture, and then put it into this and that. But that level of guide may be needed, and you're going to have to be the one making it, maybe using our guides and changing them up a little bit and rearranging certain things. Because what they need, kind of going back, connecting this to the previous point, is that if someone needs to make 50 brochures a week and they switch over to a new software, and now they can't keep up because they have to learn the new software, but that's this thing they all the time, they should have a guide that shows them step by step how to make a brochure, so that whilst they're in that learning curve initially, the workflow, the output is not disrupted. They still produce the same amount of brochures every week. So in that guide, you're gonna have to make it. We can't make it for you. We can consult and we can help you, but we can't make it. So that's sort of like what this tip connects to the previous one. And obviously, there's also the element of, there needs to be fair to that.
Yeah. So I think moving on, just again, conscious of time to, sorry, I'm jumping back and forth there. I mean, something, we talk about gamification and learning in my sort of world, but I think this is something that's a really interesting point, and certainly Danny Smith, head of customer success, Marco, this is something that I've seen time and again with different people we've dealt with, that it's something. So Marco, I'll let you, explain that in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, Gamify is a fantastic name, and it's something that I think is quite useful. And I say that remember is that this only works if you covered all of your basics that we talked about so far. You cannot start with Gamify. It needs to come on top of a solid structure. So keep in mind. But gamifying means creating little challenges or straight up games that will help your user getting on and doing stuff on the software. The best way to learn anything, and especially do it, is to use it. So if you could have a challenge like very, very simple, the team that uploads the most amount of pictures this week gets a voucher or a bottle of wine or whatever prize is appropriate. Or it could be something more involved, like you could have some sort of contest. They can be very simple, very complicated. There's all sorts of things you can do, and plenty of resources online for you to find the right way to make the process engaging and fun and stimulating. And we had examples of customers that bought Chorus and went on and had similar challenges to what was said, or more involved ones. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Remember, it only works. So this is why it's a bonus there. It only works if you covered all of your basics, if you've done that with what we said before.
Exactly.
And if people have their basic needs met, right? Once that is met, then you can build on top of that.
Yeah,
but gamifying is fantastic. You can find a lot of
great point. Online. It's a great point. If you've not planned things out successfully, and the launch isn't particularly smooth, offering people, this sort of option of gamifying things isn't going to help, to be blunt.
Yeah.
I think as Marco was saying quite rightly, it's an extra layer on top of to help sort of finish things. And I think different people will adopt and pick things up quicker than others. So I think schemes like this really help to sort of get involvement and spread
Yeah.
spread some enthusiasm across, because hopefully, you know, the software you picked is going to solve the issues that these people face, you know, day to day. So just again,
If
just
you don't know
conscious
why,
with time. I mean, there's a few other things we just wanted to sort of mention really in terms of some final tips. And of course, you know, it can be a challenge rolling out software. And as we said several times, if it's not planned, managed, and communicated effectively, but you know, we hope tips from Marco and myself, you know, will help you. But I think, you know, Marco is really strong on this about, you know, being patient and stick to your guns, not giving up, because the payoff in the long run, you know, is a much smoother integration and a successful launch, and getting your, frankly, your user base on side. And there were some other things. I mean, Marco, I was joking with Marco about this yesterday, saying, well, Marco, you do realise that training's pretty important with, you know, launching a new piece of software, but you know, obviously I'm the training manager. So just, but on a all joking aside, you know, I cannot stress enough that for people that, you know, maybe have multiple systems they use in their day-to-day work, you know, learning another one, it can, you know, it's a task. So providing training that's clear and, you know, structured and gives people that confidence to actually start using the product you've purchased is I can't stress enough how important I believe that is in a successful rollout. We've spoken about, you know, the planning, the project management, and I think there's a couple of other, you know, things just to highlight really. Again, I'm just conscious of time, but you know, you'll have other systems in place, system integrations, and something we, Danny, Marco, and I talk about a lot is that, you know, Chorus or whatever the new software is offers the possibilities whereby your internal processes might need to change. You know, perhaps this software gives you so much flexibility, you can open things up to people. All sorts of possibilities. So, you know, making sure you're reviewing those internal processes and again, communicating, because, you know, communication and the ability to give feedback is, again, I think really key. And that will help with managing expectations. And hopefully, I mean, it's that buzzword, isn't it? Return on investment. But if everyone starts using the software successfully that you've adopted, then you would hope that you can consider that a successful rollout.
Absolutely, yeah. And what we said, keep going, keep at it. You what you put in, as most things in life, and sometimes it just takes a bit of extra time. It just takes extra effort. It takes just trying a few more times. Get all the help you can from training or whether you. But yeah, keep at it. Don't leave. Never say, well, you know, we tried, but our users are stuck in their ways. Yes, some people are more stubborn than others, and some will take more time and effort. You can turn anyone over amount of effort, time, and resources, and it's going to be worth it. I've worked in software now for some time, and I've seen people of all ages, groups, all sorts of, like all walks of life, adopting new and, you know, even sometimes complex software solution. It was just mostly about what kind of resources they were given, what kind of care they were given, and whether the expectations in life. So you're working with humans. It gets messy, but it's always worth it to put the effort in.
Yep, no, I couldn't agree more. I think, you know, what we've done today, I mean, obviously we've spoken about a broad range of things. So I think it's fair to say I've had a few technical issues today. So apologies if I've come across slightly ropey in this webinar today. So apologies. If you do have any questions following today's session, please get in touch, because we'll be very happy to come back to you and answer. I can see a couple of questions. So I'll just say here that Elizabeth, I'll come back to you on your query. It's something I'd need to come back to you on after the webinar. but yeah, we hope you found this useful. I think Mark and I thought this would be a really interesting topic to talk about, and we hope you found the tips useful.
Yeah. Obviously, we will go back to webinars that will also show you chorus and what you could do with chorus, different teams could do with chorus, because we do want to keep doing that. But we're also gonna, I think, do a few more of these, more conversational.
We are, and
maybe,
our lovely lady in marketing, Vanessa, will be communicating like upcoming schedules and things. So keep an eye out. And at that point at 3:30, I'll say thank you very much for everyone that came today. Thank you, Marco, for taking us through that as well. And we hope to see you for our next session in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, have a nice day.
Take care, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care.